I just feel like looking into something very very important, but very ordinary and very much and you can say not looked so much. Beginning and end. Beginning and end beyond normal definitions or beyond conventional way of looking at it. Mostly beginning and end is quite a clear defined position of a event, of a experience. But it is actually not. A general rule is that if you can end something, your present experience well, means if you can fare well your present experience properly with love and relax, then you are eligible to welcome the beginning of the next experience. That's what makes you eligible for it, ready for it, capable for it. It's like we had a pizza party, and when we could sense that now our party time is over and we are ready to go, but still we don't want to go, and also somehow we don't want to clean the room, we don't want to let go of the leftovers of pizza and cold drink and anything like this. And in the morning we will wake up with this whole thing. And then the newness of life, which is a new event, new experience, will encounter this. And in a way it will be contaminated, no? So this is one thing, that a general rule about experiences. If you want to be ready for everything new, meaning if you want to remain open, eligible, like if you want to keep holding the capacity of experiencing anything totally, fully, with pure eyes, then you need to fare well your present experience when the time comes. You cannot cling to it. I mean, you can cling to it, but you will not be able to enjoy the next event, next experience purely. And there are invisible boundaries of everything, which we call age. There is age of everything. Everything has a certain age, which is defined by the universe itself. Nobody else has defined any age of anything. And every experience. And what we call beginning and end is the first point of the age, starting point of the age, and is the last point of the age, last occurrence of that particular event, object, experience in the consciousness. The last time it is seen, it is experienced, it is perceived. That is called end. And when for the very first time it is experienced in or seen in the consciousness, is called the beginning. After that, it is not there in the consciousness. But there is a possibility that you can hold it in the memory. In your memory plus conscious mind. Consciously craving for it. Trying to relive it as much as you can. That experience is gone. It's not there anywhere. In reality, it is not there. So the only possibility is I can keep reliving this through memory. We all know this. What we call daydreaming is nothing but this. In some way, trying to create a experience which does not exist, and what we use as material for it, our memory, because that is the only thing, only known thing we have. Memory experiences and things like this. Memory of experiences combined with our stored knowledge. When it meets our desire to live something which does not exist, this is called daydreaming. We start daydreaming. And in this daydreaming, what is present here is skipped. You are not able to see that. And this is how we are continuously missing the truth of life. And it's mainly because we have this idea that experiences give us joy, which is okay. They give us a certain type of excitement, happiness or anything. Sadness also. Some experience will give you joy, happiness, some will give you sadness. Some will give you freshness, some will give you tiredness. But what we are looking for is permanent joy, permanent happiness, constant, continuous happiness, which is not possible. In the daytime, except consciousness, there is nothing which is constant. There is nothing which is continuous. Consciousness means the container in which all this is happening and the source of the happenings also. It's like an intelligent space, intelligent sky, which not only gives space for everything to happen, but also creates everything, allows everything spontaneously, effortlessly. But there is nothing which is continuous except the space itself. There is nothing which is ever present. Everything has a beginning and an end. And things are overlapping also in a way. It's not so easy to define a beginning and an end of something so easily. Only when you are very sensitive, then you can sense. Now, you are talking to a friend. Very beautiful, very, very beautiful meeting it is. You met after a long time. You like to meet, and wonderful experience. And then, at one point, if you are sensitive enough, you will see now time is over. Now time of this meeting is over. Now you can drag it and you can spoil the whole experience actually. You will spoil the whole experience. I think this needs to be cuckoo. I am not sure, so sorry. And it is with everything. There is not a single experience. And right now, my focus, my purpose of saying this is mainly because our habit of clinging to the spiritual experiences. our attachment with the spiritual experiences. It is more so because we have never had taste of anything like this. It feels like, wow, what a wonderful thing. And it is very normal, natural. It's not your mistake. No need to have any guilt if you cling to anything like this. So natural that you have never tasted anything like this. You would like to continue tasting it. Nothing wrong. I am just showing you that this is also a part of the duality. Duality means opposites. Duality, opposites, time, they all live on the same level. Wherever there is time, there is age, there is beginning and end. Wherever there is a duality, there is opposite. One comes up and the other part is in the bottom, under the water. And when the time comes, the other one will come up. But actually they are all both one at the same time. Both are always there. I don't know, somebody said that when you are having dinner with happiness, sadness is lying on your bed, waiting for you to meet when you go home. They are totally one. They are inseparable. If you look at it like this, they are inseparable, then actually there is nothing called duality. There is no such thing as duality. Duality is a perspective, a report taken from a certain perspective, where you have decided to categorize, like light, darkness, good, bad, happy, not happy. And I want to tell you, you can experiment whenever you feel like. In the most profound happiness, still there is some sadness, and in the most profound, deepest sadness, still there is some happiness. They are just degrees of the same content, same material. Like as they say, there is no such thing as darkness. Pure darkness does not exist. It is just the intensity of light which decreases. Less light, less light, less light, less light. And how we know it? Through our eyes, which are used to see. When I cannot see, I say it is darkness. But it is just report of your equipment. May be true, may not be true. And like this, not only our senses, but our mind, our beliefs also function as a frame to filter, to divide. Good, bad, opposites. And they are not opposites. They are not even complementary. Even, I don't want to say even this, that they are complementary, because this is also coming from a position where I am still deciding, choosing. Choosing means what? You have a certain need already. You have a certain preference already. You know? And all these things are perfectly okay for a normal life. But for a seeker of truth, he will have to go beyond the personal perspective of a separate person. The beginning and end is something very, very useful to be looked into. Just whatever you experience, just have a look in your daytime whenever you find time. Not as a practice, but just as an observation. Just see when the beginning starts. Many years back, I had very strange experience continuously for a few days or few weeks. Somehow, nothing was able to entertain me, like movies or picnic or anything, because I could somehow see the end of it already. I said, what is the point? I could see what will happen after that also. It was all psychological, I mean mental, not like a profound, clear seeing, but still, somehow I could see it as a whole, beginning and after that, you know. And I'm standing here, entering into the gate called beginning, and I could somehow see when I will get out of this park, amusement park. Every experience is an amusement park, no? Which takes you on a ride, roller coaster. If you can just see this. Anyway, what is the purpose of seeing all this? What is the benefit? What a seeker will get out of seeing this? First of all, you will be able to clearly see that there is nothing which does not start and end. Particularly end. There is nothing which does not end. And then you will stop trying to hold, trying to live, trying to stretch its, increase its life, age. You will be happy with the age it is given. And slowly, you will be able to see that everything that is present is changeful, is bound by age, is bound by time. As Muji says, and that time says that I consume everything, I eat everything. That's what he means. I eat everything. Everything comes from me and then I eat it back, take it back inside me. I consume it. But time says there is one thing which I cannot eat, which eats me, awareness. Awareness eats time. Time cannot eat awareness. So the purpose of this seeing would be that when you become more and more clear about what is changeful, you also effectively become clear about what is not changeful. Maybe you don't know it directly as an object, but you start sensing it, feeling it, becoming comfortable in this, that oh, there is something which does not move, which does not change. Here I want to highlight a little bit one important thing which might be a little hard for some people. That when we go deeper in ourselves, first of all we search for experiences. We try to define ourselves as experience. We try to measure our spiritual growth through spiritual experiences. When we become little mature, then we try to find ourselves in a state, in spiritual states which are longer than experiences, deeper than experiences. And when we become more mature, then still one more mistake is continues. We still try to find, search or settle down with some qualities of ourselves, like joy, peace, and things like this. But here what I am trying to highlight is there are certain qualities which are inseparable, meaning they cannot be separated from your nature. They are there. Nothing can be done about them. Muji called them as perfume. They are more like perfume arising out of your own being, out of yourself. You cannot do anything about them. But they will be seen when time comes. When you settle down there totally, then you will see them. But otherwise, there is not a single quality even which does not have an age. It is also in the time. Even the qualities, they also have an age. They also are subject to change. Even very deeper qualities which are not part of your nature. Anything which is not part of your nature will change. And the only difference would be of the age. Some would be having very small age, some more age, and some quite more age, quite long age. So don't even search for yourself in the qualities. Don't search yourself in the states. State being stillness, feeling stillness. Feeling stillness, remember. Stillness cannot be felt. Stillness sees everything, including very deep qualities like silence, very deep experiences like silence. What we normally know as silence is a middle point. Initially, it is absence of noise of the mind, and that's why it is always afraid of mind. If mind comes, it feels afraid, because it knows that it is going to lose it. But it is absence of mind. But there is a deeper space where silence is there, and it is not absence of mind, it is presence of your being. And it is not against, is not afraid of mind. It has no fear. They both coexist, may coexist. And they do coexist for some time. Your being, which is silent, allows even noise of the mind to move and come and go, no problem. And that's why whenever anybody says that I am knowing myself as a being, and still I have some trouble, it is suggested that just check who is troubled. The being is never troubled. Being the silence, the pure silence, the positive silence, you can say. The not positive but alive silence. It is not against noise, because it is not afraid of noise. Noise does not touch it. Even if noise touches it, it can consume the noise of the mind. So mind is always afraid of this silence. It is afraid. It tries to keep distance with the. That's exactly what happens in satsang also. And some of friends, they try to keep a safe distance from me, because if you come close, mind will be consumed, and only they will remain as the silence. They will be being only, nothing else. So they try to keep safe distance. It's good to listen. It's good to come, but they never let go of their defenses. They always maintain some defense. Oh, no, not so close. But what I am saying is, the stillness that you are, even experiences the silence of the being also, the buzzing of the being. What we call, nad. There is a certain word for it, nad, which is like a inner vibration, like a sound. The stillness, the emptiness sees this also as an experience, and this is the depth of yourself. So stay open, don't conclude. If you are like, you were like a living like a beggar, and suddenly now it has been clear for you, somebody informed you that you belong to this palace in some way, and because you were living like a beggar, you will enter, and maybe you would say, even if I get this job of a watchman, it will be okay for me. Good food, good residence, good salary. But don't conclude, stay open. Life will give you whatever you want, but then you will suffer, and you will say, oh God, what I did to myself. And you stay open, and you don't do anything, and you don't talk to anybody, and you don't demand anything, and you are moving, and watchman gone. now some supervisor of the watchmen, now then some manager of this whole palace, then minister's place is also passing, still you are moving, and then the prime minister's place is also passing, you are still moving. Now you are facing the throne of the emperor, and you are like, what is going to happen now? And you like just look, and this throne is empty. It's waiting for you. Just go and sit. So this way, if you conclude, you will settle down with something much lesser than you actually deserve or you actually are. Don't conclude, stay open, keep seeing. That's what I mean when I say I don't want any one of you to compromise less than ultimate. Don't compromise less than ultimate. So just stay open. It is like for anything, you have to pay cost. The more valuable, the more cost. And in this case, the cost is cost of feeling disoriented. That's the cost. That is the only cost. Just feeling disoriented for some time. You don't know what's happening. You don't know what's happening. And for this, I have clearly said many times, put your life on autopilot. Meaning, do your things in a mechanical way. Forget about including awareness, consciousness in your activities. It's all not required for you right now. You will unnecessarily disturb your personal life if you try these things. You only focus on yourself. You use all your energy inwardly about who you are, not what you do. Doesn't matter how you do it. At this point, it doesn't matter how you do your daily things, activities, and talking to people and friends and anybody. It doesn't matter at this point. It doesn't mean that it will continue like this. Once you settle in yourself, the first thing that happens is revelation of this light. This light starts revealing itself. It starts coming out at the level of all the layers of your existence, one by one. And the echo of this light is seen everywhere, including even the physical body. And it changes everything. There is a harmony present in the body all the time. There is a peace experienced in the mind, restfulness in the mind all the time. Even when there is a lot of noise and some planning is required and this and that, still mind is at peace. I don't think anybody, and we don't normally experience these things. Even there is a lot of planning, stress of project or anything required, you will do it totally and still your mind is at peace. Meaning very little bit of the energy or part of the mind is used in anything that you can ever do. Rest of the mind remains in rest. Fresh, energetic. And your heart remains full of love, full of joy. I don't think we need two words for this. Love is enough, because love includes joy, compassion, capacity to see, everything else, creativity, whatever you call it, everything. Your being remains spacious. And you remain a witness. That's how it happens if you allow everything. If you don't try to hold on to anything, if you don't try to conclude anything, you remain open. It is natural that when we come from the world of suffering, we try to fill our pockets with whatever we see better than suffering, you know. But if you can trust me for this, just wait. Don't be in a hurry. Because otherwise what you will have to do is not that you will not reach to the ultimate. It will be an unnecessary, useless exercise. You will fill your pockets with beautiful stones first, After some time, you will see beautiful and diamonds. Then you will have to empty your pockets again fill diamonds. After some time, you will move further. You will see more beautiful treasures. Again, you have to throw the diamonds and fill your pockets again unnecessarily. While you could enjoy the whole view, you could enjoy the whole walk. Because at the end, what you are going to know is everything belongs to you. You don't need to fill anything. You don't need to fill your pockets. It is all there forever for you. You don't need to take it. It is already there. You have to just let go. Because the way of life is without holding. Anybody who holds will get only what he is holding on to. If you don't hold, the whole universe is yours. That's how it works. If you hold, you will get only what you are holding. Yeah? And if you let go, if you don't hold, then everything belongs to you. There are no locks, there are no doors, there are no restrictions. It doesn't mean, when I am saying this, it doesn't mean that I am not aware the activities of human society and the nature of human mind, human conditioning. I know this. But somehow you are able to live a parallel life and you are able to ignore the mistakes of human beings very comfortably with compassion and love. They don't disturb you. Because the joy, the beauty that you see is so much that it looks a little bit like a spice. Nothing bad. It spices up your life in a way without disturbing. So I want to come back to the starting point, beginning of our talk about beginning and end. It's very important that we clearly see this, because it cannot be understood intellectually. It can be understood intellectually, but life does not move intellectually. Life gives you real experiences, real suffering, real sadness, real happiness, real changes, real roller coaster ride, where the mental understanding will not help much. It will be at the max a kind of consolation. Yes, I heard it is like this, so maybe you feel little bit. But then it will not be really a life of joy, of freedom. A life of joy and freedom comes from a deeper understanding. So you have to actually see it. See it means seeing and living are not separate. You have to live it actually. You have to live at least few moments when the beginning, you are beginning actually, starting of the beginning, and you are living and moving, only moving with the speed of the universe, not maintaining your private timeline. There is a timeline of the universe where universe is moving. Everything is moving on that particular speed. Neither you can demand it before time, nor you can hold it after its age is finished. And there is a certain speed moving like this. But as a separate person, as a separate ego mind, a mind maintains a separate timeline of its own. So there is one universal timeline, and there are billions of separate timelines we all are maintaining. So just to come out of your personal timeline for some time and just enter into this. Just see. Just live few moments, few events, few experiences, and you will be able to see this. And when you are able to see this, it will naturally make you the seer of it. Who is the seer of changes? Who is the seer of beginning and end? The one who is outside of it. The one who is not in it. The one who is not affected by it. A beginning cannot see the beginning, or a beginning cannot see end of the previous event. because it was not there in that time, in that moment. Only something which is away, which is beyond it, can see the beginning, end of one event and beginning of another. Only that one can see. You are that. By seeing this, you naturally start holding or settling in the position of the seer of everything. And this is freedom. There is not much to do actually. Except seeing. Just see. For last 1 week, 2 weeks, we are doing this now. We are saying just see. And also remind yourself that yes, I can see. Because out of habit, out of a very, very old ingrained habit, it is possible that even when you are seeing some experience and something either very beautiful or very negatively intense comes, you will get caught up in this. Just reminding yourself, I can see this, will clear your position to yourself, that I am seeing it, I am interested in seeing, and I am the seer, you know. So just see without participating. And it is possible. It is possible only. A very beautiful thing one of my friends said. I mean, there was an instruction about intense Satori groups, that what to do, what not to do, like this, and he was asked to add something. He said, it's already so comprehensive and accurate, what can I add? And you know what he added? He said, doing is important. He said this. We mostly listen, but we don't experiment. Listening may be enough for somebody, but not for most of us. For most of us, it will be required to do. Meaning, when I say see, so you spend some time in this seeing. We all are doing this, but I am just saying for the sake of saying, so that anybody who don't do this will take care. So listening, very good, first step, but then see also. I mean, allow it to happen, do it also. Because in the beginning it is effort. To reach to the effortless, you need to do some effort. Effort is to disengage yourself, your attention from changeful, so that you can remember your home is beyond changes. But in this, you need to put some effort. So it is very important that you do see and keep seeing without participating. Mostly, not mostly, actually always, anybody who says that this technique did not work for me, it first of all means that he actually did not try it fully. Because even if, or somebody says that this is a useless technique, any techniques which are based on awareness, seeing, witnessing, investigating, contemplating inwardly, and the self-inquiry, anything like this, these are very fundamental techniques, and they do work always. It's just that basically it's like a baby, like a child. Mother is saying that, okay, now you do your homework. He says, actually my pencil is broken. He says, okay. She finds a new pencil. Okay. But there is no eraser. Okay. And also there is no sharpener. And then slowly she is supplying. It is same in the companies also. In the organizations, employees also try to find different reasons not to work, you know, and the management tries to eliminate all the reasons, excuses they can give. So they are always given more than they may require, and things like this. But at one point the child will realize that mother is not going to leave me. So I will have to do it now. But we are not children. We are grown-ups. But are we really grown-ups? Because anybody who cannot take ownership of his life, I will not consider him as or her as a grown-up. Grown-up means the one who takes responsibility or ownership of life totally. Yes. Okay, here I am. This is my life. This is what I have. These are the problems. Let's see what to do. This is a grown-up attitude. Children is like still in the lap of his mother. Yeah. Mom, I can do this. Complaining. To whom? There are so many people, even after their mother dies, they still keep fighting with her, complaining to her, what you are doing, what you did, or even what you are doing now. Why don't you help me? You are in heaven, you can do anything, and you are not doing. I am just waiting for this promotion. This idiot boss is not doing anything. Why don't you help me here? So it's important that we do. Doing is important. All the results of failures are from those who did not try, did not really try. If you really try, how would you not get some taste of something? Maybe you will declare that it is not what I wanted, what I was searching for, but you cannot say that this technique did not do anything for me. I mean, there are many instances like this also in schools, colleges, schools especially. Teacher is saying something and she says, okay, so what is the answer of this? He will say, well, I don't understand this. Can you explain again? And the teachers who are intelligent, they will say, which part of this did you not understand exactly? Tell me. That will give you the teacher a report that at least he listened some of it, but basically he did not listen anything. He was not interested in this. He say, can you explain it? He's just buying time to rest a little bit more so that he can sleep inside a little bit while his eyes are open and pretending to listen. And like this, any technique can be very easily declared not okay. But if it is asked which part of it is not okay, what was the exact problem you faced when you did? Because they never try. They never try. And I tell you a very strange thing. It actually doesn't matter which technique you use. If your desire, your longing in your heart to know yourself is pure, is clear, is on top priority, it actually doesn't matter. What is important is that you do, not what you do. Whatever you do in this direction, with this longing in your heart that I want to know myself, and that's why I am doing this technique, it is more than enough. Doesn't matter what technique are you following. What I am proposing is the purest form of the technique, so that you can save a lot of your time. It can save you a lot of your time. It will cut it like, cut it in pieces, like a thunderbolt, Otherwise, even you don't do anything. You just sit and keep observing what's happening in my life, what I'm doing. Even that will give you clarity, a lot of clarity. There is not really a need that you need a technique. Technique is not really so much required. Your attitude, your intention is required. Your desire that yes, I want to know. So in the through the techniques and satsangs, mostly where we get to where we reach is the point where our desire is crystallized. We are able to see our mistakes, leakage of our energy and our attention. We are able to see ourselves. Yet although I am saying continuously that I want to go to park every morning, and yet every evening I am going to bed very, very late. We are able to see this. And this seeing is enough. Slowly, slowly, in week time you will start going to bed on time. Or if it is very important for you, then you will give up the idea of going to park in the morning. Life comes in sync. Right now it is in bits and pieces.